Welcome to the Latin Wealth Podcast, a podcast dedicated to educating the Latino community about entrepreneurship, investing, and business.
Yo, what's going on, Latin Wealth family? Welcome to another episode to the Latin Wealth Podcast. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. Hopefully, you guys are having a good week. We're excited about today's episode because we have three big topics that we want to jump into immediately. Number one, we're going to be talking about Mexico and Mexico electing their first female president in 200 years. We're also going to be diving into an article that discusses how Puerto Ricans on average live longer than the rest of the United States. We're going to dive into like what our thoughts are, what we think contributes to those numbers. And then lastly, we're going to hit on a new article that came out that basically discusses a bilingual AI brain implants that help stroke survivors communicate in Spanish and English. We're going to break that down for you guys. With that being said, welcome to another episode to Wealth Wednesday. First and foremost, we appreciate everybody that's been subscribing, that's been sharing, that's been commenting on the comments or the content that we've been putting out. YouTube channel has been steadily growing, so we want to continue to grow that. If this is your first time tuning in, we would appreciate if you just hit that subscribe button. We release a new episode every Wednesday. And also, if you have been a subscriber, share this episode with somebody else that needs to hear this information. With that being said, my brother Jeremiah, how you feeling today?
Feeling good. Good topics, good information. Let's let's make sure we give the people something they can write down, take some notes on.
Let's do it. So first and foremost, Mexico elects its first female president in 200-year history. All right, Mexico projected.
Crazy.
What says right here? It says projected when I was taking the notes, but she's the official winner. Claudia Sheinbaum will become the first woman president in the country's 200-year history. All right, so just a little bit about her. She's a former mayor of Mexico City and an environmental scientist. She's also a member of the ruling Morena party. And she would also be the first Mexican president of Jewish heritage. That kind of explains her last name. Just a side note, in Mexico, their presidential terms are 6 years, opposed to the United States, which is 4 years. What are your thoughts about this, Jeremiah? I mean, she pretty much won in a landslide. She got 60% of the votes, which is absolutely insane. Yeah.
And I think it was projected in the next 5 years, Mexico is going to become one of I think it's top 10 and maybe top 5, but the top 10 countries economically. And what's been spurring that is its change in the role of becoming an import partner, of course, with like NAFTA and stuff like that with the United States. So I think that this is all very strategic. Her being an environmental scientist, Mexico obviously having a lot of coastline, just wanting to grow, and they're trying to elevate themselves past the second world label, and they're trying to come more into like first world, being a vibrant name. You know, they've had telecommunication companies. There's a lot of like resourcing and companies that are looking at Mexico to move there and invest in it. And so I think this is all just part of it. She was a great mayor. She had a great tenure as mayor. And not only is she a woman, but then also you have to think about the majority of financing or links to financing in the United States is to, Jewish Americans, right? I mean, the majority of them have some type of tie to Jewish ancestry. So you kind of like put it all together and it makes sense, right? If you're going to try to grow financially, it helps to have someone that's going to have a link or have a connection to the people that are kind of running things in this side of the world. So I kind of look at it as, strategic. It's good. It's great. Not only because she's a woman, they did it before America did it. That's a huge thing. But then also she has the ties that's necessary to open up those financial doors for Mexico. So I think that you're going to start to see a lot more businesses, a lot more things transpire in the way of growing that finance in Mexico. mean, they were already on the road up, but I think that her aligning with a little bit more of the beliefs and the background, even the ethnic background of the
Mm-hmm.
business owners here in America, that's going to help. I think you're going to see there's going to be a big push. Last thing, our brother
Mm-hmm.
Ian, we always see him, the master investor. He's always
Mm-hmm.
talking about Mexico all
Oh,
the
yeah.
time. He's like, oh, I think I'm going to move there. Just wait and see businesses. So he's already spoken on it. I started seeing trends of it when
Mm-hmm.
a lot of companies started moving there, started opening up headquarters in Mexico. So I think it's a good thing. It's a great thing.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And, we can think it's a good thing, but it's funny because I posted that clip on the
Mhm.
page or what was it, yesterday? And just talking about, this election and whatnot. And, of course, there's a lot of people in the comments that,
Sure.
want to get political and don't think a
Sure.
woman should run for president. You have those people that are still out there, unfortunately. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. I know Latino Metrics, they just posted about 2 hours ago. One of the biggest things that she's going to have to tackle is Mexico's government and their spending. So right now, their total revenue that is going out is about $429 billion. That's how much they're making, but their spending is $551 billion. So um, it's not
And
too far off. Go ahead.
that gap is not that bad.
Yeah,
I mean, look
yeah.
at America. We're over 36 trillion. We're at 36 trillion in debt. So
Yeah.
we're not really one to talk for spending and GDP and stuff like that. I mean, that's not a big gap. Some corporate sponsors get some businesses
Mm,
in there, right? Taxation that comes from that. You've already tackled that, and maybe eliminate some things too. I think that gap it's not a. I'm not saying it's a small gap, but it's not huge. I think she could do it.
mm,
I mean,
yeah,
she's got the right support, seemingly.
100%. Now, I don't want to go too far off track, but
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of different events that led up to this election, people, passing away, being assassinated,
Sure,
and things of that
sure,
nature. I was
sure.
watching a clip from your boy PBD, Patrick
Mm-hmm.
David, and the question that they threw out was, do you think that she was elected or do you think that she was actually selected?
She was selected.
Okay.
That's I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's essentially what I said, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you got to put that's what I'm saying. You got to put someone in that space that
Hmm.
connects with businesses, that connects with it's a I mean, and if let me say this, and people, oh, here we go. Let's not go too far down the hole. But if you think that that's not happening in America, then I don't know.
100%.
I'll
100%.
just leave it at that. I'll just leave it
100%.
at that. Yeah.
Interesting. Cool. All right. Well, we will, of course, look, what I said in that clip, I'm going to say it again, is like we don't want to get too political with this stuff. We're not left, right. We're kind of in the middle, giving you guys the information.
For sure.
We're more concerned about the economy, the business aspect. Like those are the things that really interest us and see what they're going to be doing. So
I mean,
we
what's
will
your
keep,
thoughts? What's your thoughts from an
uh,
economic standpoint, not even from a political, because that's kind of whatever. What's
yeah.
your? I mean, as a financial powerhouse, how does Mexico? How's this decision look for you with Mexico?
I mean, I don't like I said, I think like you said, honestly, I think it could be definitely be a good thing. I think the ties to her heritage, the Jewish heritage, would
Mhm.
could be a good thing. Like you mentioned it yourself, like Ian is one of the people that he may be already living out there. There's people are going to Mexico, setting up shop out there. We spoke about it a couple episodes ago where people are, fleeing America and they're finding other places to go to, and Mexico is one of the places that
Yeah.
they're finding a uh, better lifestyle out there and, setting up shop with their business out there. Mexico, especially Mexico City, there is a lot of, I don't want to say trending, but there's a lot of like business owners that are popping up out there that do different things. Maybe they have clothing brands, they have clothing lines, they sell artesian goods and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely a place where a lot of business owners are going, and I think it's going to be interesting to see. Definitely.
I mean, of Central America, Mexico City is the New York City of Central America.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
it's a mecca. You have historic stuff. You have the museums. It's a beautiful city, very
Hmm.
historic city. And at the same time, you have just a flourishing economy, nightlife. Everything is like it's pretty happening. So I'm with you. I think for economically, I think it was it was the right selection.
Hmm.
I think it was a good selection. So let's see it.
And
Let's see it play out.
I was gonna say Mexico City. I haven't been. It's actually one of the places on my bucket list that I want to go check out. So yeah, absolutely, I agree with you.
Let's get
Cool,
to it, man.
cool.
So support for Mexico. Let's
Yeah,
say that for sure. Just seeing Mexico grow and seeing it expand. I always want to see our Latin nations. I follow an economic thing on Instagram that follows the Latin countries, talks about their import, exports, GDP of the countries, different things, and
I think
Mexico's
that's
always on the top of the list. So
yeah, they're always up there. Yeah, I think that's
yeah,
Latino metrics, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
And I also think it's dope that a woman was elected. I think people can have their thoughts about that, but to me, that just breaks down a barrier to what other young women could aspire
Sure,
to be. That I
sure.
always look at that. So, um, transitioning a little bit, Puerto Rico. We
Mhm.
love talking about Puerto Rico, right?
Love it,
So,
love it.
on average, Puerto Ricans live longer than the rest of the United States. All right, this is a recent article that just came out. Now, in the article, it didn't really, it was just kind of suggesting why they live longer. I think they said something like, because we eat black beans and rice. That's literally what it said.
And that's
But
that's Cubans. That's not us, man. That's
somebody in
crazy.
the
That's
comments corrected them.
that's Cubans. Yeah.
Right. But I will say they did
Okay.
bring up. He said, okay. Um, I say that to say, in the article, it says that on average, Puerto Ricans are now expected to live 4 years longer than the U.S. citizen.
Mm.
And look, we both wanted to bring this up because it's important as we're talking about wealth, finances, and business, you can't talk about that without health as well, right?
Yeah.
How are you taking
Yeah.
care of yourself mentally? What are the things that you are doing not only for you, but also your community as well? So we want to bring this up. What are your thoughts about this? What do you think contributes to the healthier lifestyle? It
I wouldn't
can't be the
even
mofongo.
I wouldn't even say it's no, I wouldn't say it's healthier. I would say because there's a lot of things in PR that we're working on. Our brother Dean, I was talking with him yesterday. We got to get him do that second episode. But I think that just the overall stress factor of living in America is extremely high.
Hmm.
There's so many factors of things that play on you that plague your body and your health mentally. Air quality. There's all these different things that play on you
Hmm.
that you don't really think about, but it takes from years of your life versus living in a country where it's fresh air every day. There's the
Hmm.
beach.
The sun.
There's a lot to be said about mental stability and about mental health. The decline of the brain, right, in America tends to, right, you see Alzheimer's on an uptick, an extreme uptick, right, because there's so much stress on the brain on a daily basis. So I think if anything, um, Puerto Rico's just a less stressful
Hmm.
area. It's
100%.
just a happier place to be. Anyone that goes there, you experience the culture, the authenticity of it, right? Just the love of the people that they're giving you. You'll see it and you feel it. And most people end up wanting to move there. Like I've never talked to a person that didn't say they didn't like Puerto Rico.
Hmm.
I've never like ever. Every single person from different places, if you travel there, they're like, yo, I love it. It's dope. And I think that has a lot to do with it. Just the love and the energy that we project from the island. I think that's the biggest thing. It's not even so much anything super crazy or it's the energy, it's the vibe,
Hmm.
it's the love of life. And I think that that extends and makes us happier, which then makes us live longer. It's funny because before that, I was telling you that they voted and Puerto Rico was the perfect human. That's what
Hmm.
Puerto Ricans, they were like, oh, this, if you look for a perfect human, not my words. I'm just saying that's what they
Yeah.
voted. So I was like, dang, we're the perfect. Now we're living longer. I'm like, man, there's something to be said for that, man. We talked
Hmm.
about blue zones in our book group and everything, and I'm like, man, this is maybe blue zone needs to be opened up in Puerto Rico.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep, 100%. And it's interesting. I think I mentioned this to you before. I've traveled to last year I went to Colombia, Panama.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I travel somewhere new, I if I have a conversation with a local, I always ask them like, what is your perception of America? Like, what are your thoughts
Mm.
about it? And they always say something along the lines of like, you guys are always in a rush, you guys are always concerned about money, like you guys are overworked. And I
Yeah.
think some of that could be true. And they also say that you guys don't really have a sense of community, especially with your family, right? You come
Wow.
to Colombia
Wow.
and we got grandma living upstairs, we got sisters right here, we got, auntie right here, we got so and so coming into town,
Yep.
and it's all about community. We take the time to, have coffee in the morning with our family and our, even our neighbors as well. And that's not
Right.
something that's done in America, and that's true. Like we wake
That's
up,
true.
we're trying to get right to it, or we're rushing to get on the freeway and stuck in traffic, and and that goes to what you're saying, like the quality of life is completely different
Yeah.
in other countries. And even, man, you mentioned like the environment of Puerto Rico, the sun, the weather, the air.
Yeah.
These are all things that really contribute to you being healthier. Like there's actually studies, and Jeremiah calls me a light skin for doing this, but like when the sun's out in Texas, I'll go on my balcony with my fruit and just get that natural vitamin D. And it does make me happier. It makes me energized. And I know that's a
Hey, if I
fact
could do
because,
that, if I could do that, I'd do it, man. I already got a permanent tan, so that
right,
wouldn't work too well for me. But
right,
I feel you.
100%. And it's crazy because, I used to live in Oregon, and
Mm.
Oregon is one of the most, I don't know if it still is, but it was one of the most depressed places in the United States because it's always
The
gloomy.
Northwest.
The Northwest,
Yeah.
it's always raining and
Seattle and
whatnot.
Portland.
Yeah,
Hmm.
100%. So, um, yeah, it's man, it's very interesting. I'm almost thinking like, look, our people, we can definitely make adjustments when it comes to the diet, right? And what we're
Sure.
eating. We have a
Sure.
lot of phenomenal food. A lot of it's fried, unfortunately, but uh, how much further can we push if we just be a little bit more conscious about what we eat? And not saying that we shouldn't eat those things and we can't eat it.
No. I mean, let's be honest. If they cut the pork from their
Yeah.
diet, you'd see probably additional 7 to 10 years from everybody. That's
Hmm.
cholesterol. That's freaking heart issues. That's clogged
Hmm.
arteries. There's all this stuff, right? That comes health issues that come from eating pork. They would cut that, which is it's a staple, unfortunately, right? Everybody Christmas time they got the panini. But if you cut that out, man, you'd be surprised. I think they'd be surprised just with one thing.
Hmm.
Now, if we cut everything to be all the
Hmm.
fried foods out, I think you'd be
Hmm.
surprised. We'd probably get another 15 years.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, if you think about it, like, because even when I went out there recently, you go to the local corner store or whatever, get you some food, and
Yeah.
it's like breakfast is bread, cheese, you know what I'm saying, coffee, or um, and look, it tastes amazing. Don't get it twisted, like quesitos and all that. It's
Yeah.
amazing, but um, yeah, interesting, very interesting.
I think that should be something that is that is focused on for Puerto Rico for sure. We talked about some of my goals and stuff and
Mm-hmm.
what that has to do with it. I probably would, like I said, I'd probably work with Dean because we have
Mm-hmm.
very similar ideas about sustainability, lighting.
Mm-hmm.
If you can support a stronger power grid and power that stays on,
Mm-hmm.
people would be able to go and work out more. People would be
For
more focused
sure.
on the health aspect. When you're not so focused on the survival part of
Mm-hmm.
living, then you're able to go and focus on the things that elevate you, right? And so I think a lot of people in Puerto Rico are still looking at survival things, and it's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. They still live longer,
Yeah,
focused
that's
on
what I'm
survival
saying.
things, and right. So imagine if you elevate them to not having to think about that with sustainable power, ensuring that they have clean water, all these just basic things, right? But if you could do that, then that would push them to actually have time to think about their health.
Mm,
Never
100%. No,
know.
that's a good point. And when I went to Panama last year, one thing that I like that they do is, I think it's like in Panama City every Sunday they close out a certain area of the city, and that is only for like a certain area of the city and a certain time of the Sunday where you can just ride your bike, and everybody's just out
It's
riding their
beautiful.
bikes and going on runs, and just it's just literally a part of the culture. Like it's Sunday, we're gonna ride our bikes today. They got the streets blocked off. It's only for them. with the part of their culture, you know. So I think, you know, that's super dope as well.
I agree. I feel like if we can implement, I mean, there are a lot of health conscientious or health focused areas in the United States, right?
Hmm.
Obviously, California is a health nut state. Even when I lived in Seattle, I saw just a lot of,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
very conscientious of health and stuff like that. But yeah, if you could take some of those programs or some of those ideas back to the island, bring good things to the island. We always
yeah.
export negativity back to the island. So
Hmm.
if we could bring some good things to it, that would be great.
Yeah, 100%. We got phenomenal athletes, so it's just if we're more conscious about
Man,
these things, just how much further can we push and go?
I agree.
Absolutely. So speaking about pushing further, we got a new article that came out. I'm gonna break down this story so you make sure you guys are tuning in and lock in. Bilingual AI brain implant helps stroke survivor communicate in Spanish and in English. All right. So at the University of California, in San Francisco, they have developed a bilingual brain implant that uses artificial intelligence to help stroke survivor communicate Spanish and English, as I just said. And it's a story of a man named Pancho. At the age of 20, he became very paralyzed as a result of a stroke he had in the early 2000s. He was only able to really moan and grunt, and he couldn't even articulate his words, right? And at this time, he was actually a native Spanish speaker, and he learned English as an adult. So with that being said, by using an AI method as neural network, researchers were able to train Pancho's implant to decode words based on the brain activity produced when he attempted to articulate them. This AI training method is basically allows the brain implant, known scientifically as a brain computer interface device, to process data in a way that is somewhat similar to the human brain. All right. So just to recap a little bit, in 2021, the technology had actually helped him to have the ability to communicate in English. And then in 2022, the technology was able to help him switch back between Spanish and English. So a lot of information there, but you can see in the early 2000s, he was paralyzed, he had a stroke, and then it took almost 22 years to get to where he's at now, to where he's able to communicate in English and Spanish. What are your thoughts about this, Jeremiah?
Just think about the horror or the um I don't know, just think about the issue you'd have with yourself if, like
Mm,
myself, I'm a bilingual. So I'm sitting and I'm thinking about what if I went back to PR and I couldn't communicate with family and friends, right?
mhm.
Because they only speak Spanish. What if like I had something happen to me and I had to work to even speak any language? So I couldn't even imagine the person. And the thing that people don't think about, the person is still there mentally.
He knows he can do it.
Your mental function is still, yeah, you're stuck in your brain. Like I want you to think about the
Mm,
horror of that, like being in a cell almost in your brain and not being
mm,
able to escape. Like you know that you could speak these languages, and it's
mhm,
so like this the frustration level you would have from not being able to speak something you know you knew, right? And that you know you've forgotten essentially or don't have the connections in the brain to do it. And so I wanted to speak on that first, but um, so 20 years
good
of
point.
frustration,
Mhm,
right? Because I think that the point will come up when we post this, people will be like, well, I'll never let them in my brain. And well, it sounds good, but
mhm,
if I give you a year or two of what Poncho experienced for
mm.
20 years, I guarantee you'd consider it.
Gee,
It'd be torture.
yeah,
So I
that's
want, just
a good
speaking on
point.
that. And then when it comes time for 2021, he's not even going into because obviously it's California. They're probably English speaking doctors that are
Mhm,
working on the code or whatever like that.
true.
He's able to speak English first, which isn't his native language. So
Mhm,
then there's a gap that's there, right, from his knowledge because the brain waves, right, and the waves that control that and that thought process, there's still a gap there because that's not his native language. And so he was still limited in the communication of what he did in the first language he was able to communicate in. And then it reverted back to
Spanish.
Spanish, right?
Yeah.
So it's been a process. Um, And I think it's phenomenal. I think it's great. I
Yeah.
think it's great. Some people will say they're playing God. I mean, this is what we're naturally
Mm,
inclined to do. We're
mm,
humans. We're going to create.
mhm.
Will it destroy us? Maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm not here to fearmonger or anything. I'm just saying that's what we're here to do. We're here to discover and explore and create. And so I think that that's phenomenal. And I think that the actual processes that are necessary to help people do this, I think that that's good as well, because what you're doing is you're taking a group of people that haven't been able to communicate and speak with people, and you're giving them back their freedom of speech, like their freedom of thought, right? The flow of thought through
Mhm.
your speech, which you can't put a price tag on that.
Yeah,
So
put it
that's kind of
yeah.
when I was reading it, I was like, man, this is phenomenal.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is phenomenal. You pretty much, hit the nail on the head. Um, yeah, I mean it's crazy. It just goes to show, we always talk about AI. We always talk about like, yo,
Yeah,
this may be something that not even maybe, this is something that you need to look into.
100%.
Um, and learn more about, because you see how it's literally changing people's life. And the thing about AI and this technology, and I don't know exactly how long it took them to, implement this,
Mm-hmm.
but the next time they do it, it's going to be even shorter and shorter and shorter. So it's
Every
going to be
time.
it's going to be a quicker process every single time. Yeah, this is phenomenal. I mean, shout out to him. It's like you said, I didn't even think about that point of like 20 years of knowing, you can speak both languages and you just can't get it out. So this is a
Extreme,
big win.
extreme frustration.
Hmm.
I look for the next step to be interface into mobile networks and things like that. So there's someone that will come up with an app that's able to help those people communicate via there.
Hmm.
And so the interface can speak to the phone and write out what it
Hmm.
is that you're, because sometimes the motor skills, right? You
Hmm.
lose motor skills during a stroke. So you're not able to basically type or do things with your hands or whatever. So maybe the interface will connect with that app and you'll be able to write and text and do stuff in different languages. I'm
100%.
just throwing an idea out there. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes. We'll definitely keep an eye on this. As always, we'll leave the links to all these articles in the description of this podcast. Again, if you guys can share this with one other person, it would mean the world to us. And yeah, I mean, anything else, Jeremiah? I think that's it.
No, man, I think you said it from the top of the show. Obviously, we're always super appreciative for all the support that we're getting. I'm starting to see the views go up. Guys, just share. Whenever you see something and something, taps on you or like they say, se toca,
Hmm.
put your comment there and let us know what you think about things. We're not here to sway people in any given direction of yes, no, like we were saying, we're not political or anything. Just sometimes we just like to read the comments. I just go
Hmm.
through sometimes and read the comments. Like I just want to see what you think. So leave us your comments, leave us your thoughts, share it if it applies for you. If you feel there's something that was there that you learned or something you want to share with others, we appreciate the support, guys.
Yes, sir. With that being said, we'll catch you guys next week. Peace.